Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about process strategy. Process essentially is, how companies make things. What process do they choose to produce their product or service, right? So, and the book definition, process essentially is a connection of activities, right? And process typically takes input and generates output. Now, if you think that way, the entire operation we talked about is the taking input to generate an output, right? So you can tell that, if you see it at a more macro level, the entire operation is a process. That's why, sometimes we kind of refer to the our discipline and even the title of this course. We use, operations, process interchangeably, and then process is a very important component in operation management. So how things are made and how services are delivered. When you go to a coffee shop, you just order a coffee and then the barista will take your order and make it, make you a customized flavor that according to your request, right? And if you ever visit the Boeing assembly line, you see that, entire working process or half-finished airplanes are lined up, and there's technicians, engineers will move along the line to add up work or adding more value to the airplane. So why do they choose different processes? So, why things are produced differently, right? So generally speaking, how to produce a product or how to deliver that service essentially is what we call the process strategy. So company want to deliver the product and they want to meet or exceed customers' requirement, but they also have a lot of constraints, right? They want to managing the production cost to allowed limit, right? And then they also have their other managerial goals, such as delivery time. And in a long-term perspective, okay, most companies want to also achieve efficiency and production flexibility. Production flexibility means that we can interchange product or modify the process, etc., right? And as we talked about many times, that customers all want lower cost and higher quality. So how can we achieve that? Essentially, this all in the process design, right? So there are four basic process strategies: process-focused strategy, and repetitive-focused strategy, product-focused strategy, and mass customization. Now, some of you will be curious, how do we define a process with a process, right? Yes, so the process-focused process strategy typically is used in job shop or batch processing, and so if you read the book, you will see the more detailed examples there. And repetitive focused process strategy is mainly for batch processing, and product focused process strategy is generally for those, continuous process, continuous production, such as oil refinery, sugar processing, right? And mass, anything related to mass production and then high volume and almost identical product, right? Everything that passes through the production line are identical. That's what we call the product focus. And then with the advancement of the technology, we see mass customization become possible. Originally when, in the operation field, when we talk about process design, we said there is a dilemma to to achieve the balance. And if you have a larger production volume, typically means that you cannot produce high variety, because if you want to achieve the economy of scale, you have to reduce the variety and increase the volume, and then hence to reduce the cost. But with the technology development, we can deliver higher variety with a larger volume and catering to mass customer base, right? So these are the 4 major process strategies. And this is what I would think that most important diagram. And you can look at this from your, the complete video set, that complete PowerPoint slides set. And I always joke with my students that this is probably most important slides in the entire operation management, because it talks about process, volume, and the variety. How does that interchange, right? And we always said that you can only see the process setting in the upper corner, and in the lower corner, if you design a strategy that belong to the lower corner, that means you design a wrong strategy or a poor strategy. Okay. And then in terms of the process type, for the the 4 type of process strategy, right? So, and then there's also 5 different kind of a process type that we often talked about. Project is a special type of a process. We have a separate class to talk about project. So, it's typically non-routine, unique, and with a temporary set characteristic, which means it has a starting point and a finishing point. Okay. And this is another slide that you can take a look that talk about the interaction between volume and the mix or variety. Okay. Now, all those process selection and then essentially kind of impacts the system design. And it related to facilities, equipment, layout, work design, right? All those contributes essentially to the capacity, how much you can produce, right? So the capacity planning is interacted with process selection. Okay, and this is done through a lot of different kind of a component within an organization, using new technology, revise your product and the process design, and incorporate the forecasting data. So I would say this is the step that most important in any organization for producing the product or service. And then for service process design, we are very much look at customization and the customer contact. So how much customer contact you have. Typically, we say that if you increase the customer contact, your cost goes up, right? And then when you reduce the customer contact, right? Essentially, you make the process more standardized and more capable, more possible to implement using machines, AIs, and all those tools, right? Another issue is related to customization. Customer wants a unique product. So if the product offering is a high customization, and typically, you incur a higher cost, right? But another way is to using technology to offer customization with a manageable cost structure. So this is another kind of framework for analyzing the process for using for service. Okay. And this is another structure that you can take a look. And I think this is a very interesting slide because, we talk about competitive advantage, right? So what is a competitive advantage? Essentially, is you doing things differently than your competitors and you do better, right? So Traditionally, service is a very high, kind of customer interaction, and then also typically have a higher customization. So if you change the degree of a customization, okay, that essentially can help you reduce the cost, right? And then if the cost is something that you are competing on, then you can do better than your customer, than your competitor. Okay, another factor is the degree of labor. Service typically is high involvement of labor involvement, right? But if you can reduce the labor involvement, you reduce the cost, right? So how can you reduce the labor involvement? Because you go to grocery store, right? Traditionally, you have a cashier help you to do the checkout. Now you have a self-checkout line. Airlines been using that same type of things that you make your customers do the work, right? So this is the service matrix that I think it's very helpful for us to kind of compare different kind of process design. Okay, so that's about it for the introduction. In today's in this module, we also have a video talk about Chili. How do they a casual restaurant chain Chili's? How do they implement process change? Essentially, help them to save a lot of money. But more importantly, is that it helped them to increase the revenue as well. So I hope you enjoy this module's content.